So how should you report the results in an abstract? Well, again, you may well have run quite a complex study. And we go back to the basic principle, which is the abstract is a summary. So the key thing is show the headline values. That is the values which fundamentally show the most revealing outcomes in relation to the question. So don't use the abstract as a place for reporting some obscure bit of data that you found just because it's statistically significant. We have to report the findings that are pertinent to the research question. Therefore, make sure they fit with the purpose that you have stated in the abstract. So when you're kind of putting this together, think about the main findings, and I say the headlines. So if you read a newspaper, the headline is big, the headline is one thing. Now with the results in an abstract, you might report 2 or 3 headlines. You might have the major finding, then a couple of kind of what are called bylines that tie to that overall question. The basics are the mean and the standard deviation. It might be the standard error, it could be the standard deviation. That's the absolute basic. But ideally, you should be showing statistical outcomes. And so one of the things that often happens is we get very confused about how to report these, particularly if we've got a lot of values that were significant. So you go back, what were the headlines? So either report them as a comparison against the alpha level. Now, if you want to learn a bit more about alpha levels, go to one of the other videos which is on reporting statistical outcomes. But the alpha level is in essence the 0.05. So you could just write statistically significant, p is less than 0.05. But if you haven't got vast amounts of data to show, or there may be only key findings, you could actually report the actual calculated p-value. So in other words, the p-value, that's the occurrence in relation to the alpha level that we've been working at. So we've worked at 0.05, that is 95% certainty, and we've got a p-value of p equals 0.02. Show the p-value. But it might not be p-values that you've worked with. You may have shown or calculated effect sizes, or you may have reported magnitude-based inferences. Whatever it is, you cannot have a results section that doesn't show results when we're dealing with quantitative studies. So what are the headlines? How do we report them? So let's have a brief look at what this might look like in an abstract. So here we've got our abstract, and we can see it's fairly brief in terms of what has been reported. And it's reported some of the key findings. Remember that the whole notion of what was going on with this study was it was about, if we read the purpose, to examine the reliability of 2 different manoeuvres and if there is a difference between sexes. So the results need to kind of tally with that. So the results straight away tell us there was a non-significant difference for the females in the 2 conditions that were undertaken. Non-significant. But for males, a significant difference was observed. And notice that the actual p-value has been shown. So p equals 0.01. So when it's a fairly good outcome there. And that's between trials 1 and 2, and it's telling us in what condition. So remember that it was undertaken in 2 conditions. So can you see how it has pinpointed both the finding and the association with what that finding tallies with? Again, there is no ambiguity. A little bit more information. Reliability was greater in the arm raised position, but rather than showing the overall reliability of results, which are quite complicated, which are in the main part of the results of the report, what has happened here is they've been summarized into kind of what the difference was. So what was the difference? Well, the difference across 2 trials of 0.2 kilograms, and difference the other condition of 1.3 kilograms. So in other words, what we've got is we've got a very brief summary which allows the reader to go, oh, okay, I can see why reliability was greater in one condition compared to the other. But we've got the headlines. We've got values related to reliability, which was fundamental to the purpose, and we've got statistical outcomes and values related to the sexes and the difference in the sexes, which again was fundamental to the purpose. So when you're putting your results section together in the abstract, remember, you want to show the headlines, you want to show some of the outcomes. Ideally, if we've only got means and standard deviations, that's the bare minimum. But fundamentally, your results have to relate to what the purpose of the study was, whether they were significant or non-significant.